Hello my dears, and welcome back to my corner of the internet. I'm Shannon, and today I've got another book talk video to share with you guys. And today we are talking about The Summer That Melted Everything by Tiffany McDaniel. Now, this book came out in 2016, and if you've been around my channel for a while, you know that 2023 was a big year for me in discovering new authors that I really loved. And top amongst them was Tiffany McDaniel. I first read her book On the Savage Side kind of by chance. I came across it on NetGalley and just requested it, not really knowing anything about it or her. That book ended up being the book that I can wholeheartedly say has shattered my heart, my soul, everything, more than any other book I've ever read. Still, and I can't imagine anything ever topping it for me. I've got a whole book talk on that video if you want to hear about it. Oh, sorry, not a book talk, a spoiler-free book review. After that, I became obsessed with reading anything that she had read. So next, I read Betty, which was a novel that Tiffany wrote kind of about her mother and her mother's family. I guess a fictionalized account, but based on that story. After those two, which I read fairly close together, I knew that this book was out there, but I had to take a moment. I had to pause because Betty also broke my heart. So I was like, I gotta wait a bit. So it's been like a year now, and finally I felt emotionally stable enough to try this one, and I just finished it about half an hour ago, and my goodness, I've said this before and I'll say it again, I truly believe that in the future we're gonna look back at Tiffany as one of the premier storytellers of our time. For me, she's just, I mean, I don't even have the words, and I'm not gonna sit here and try to find them because in every other video I've also tried to find them and can't. So we're just gonna cut our losses, and I'll give you a synopsis for this book, then I'll give you a warning, and then we'll get into a bit of the spoilers if you've already read the book and kind of want someone to talk about it with. So this book is about, first of all, it takes place in 1984. Our main character is a 13-year-old boy named Fielding Bliss, and one excruciatingly hot summer in Ohio, a little boy turns up in town. Fielding meets him kind of by chance out in the road, and he tells Fielding that he is the devil and he has come there by invitation. And Fielding immediately recognizes that invitation because he knows that his father, a man named Autopsy Bliss, put it in the paper. His father is an attorney who, when he was a young boy, he watched his mother lose her faith after a bad fall. And instead of also losing his faith while he was in the courthouse with her after she lost her faith, she went on to vandalize some churches. And in going into those courtrooms with his mother, he finds his faith stronger than ever. He watches the judge and the lawyers as they work within what he comes to know as the filter, where, you know, someone does something bad, something truly evil, and they get caught in the filter and taken out of society. And he wants to be a part of that. So he grows up and he becomes a lawyer, and he was the one who put the ad in the paper. A message to the devil: if you're out there, come to this town. We hope you come in peace. And we find out later what prompts him to put that message in the paper. Anyway, this little boy shows up and he's like, it's me, I'm the devil. And from there, things just kind of take off. Fielding brings this boy home to meet his father, who is like, you know, not really taking it seriously. It's a little boy in dusty overalls and no shoes, and like, Autopsy doesn't think he's the devil, which I know is a weird name, and that's addressed his mom gave it to him because I can't remember the details, but like in a certain language, the word autopsy literally translates to see for myself, or to see for yourself. And, you know, he's like, it's a weird name given to me by a very weird woman who was his mother. Anyway, so Fielding brings the boy home. The dad's kind of like, okay. But from there, word spreads through the town that the devil has arrived in Ohio. And, you know, it's a small town, and townspeople get talking. And then weird things start to happen, accidents. And the townspeople take these accidents and they turn towards this boy and they blame him. And things just snowball out of control until, well, until we get to a very unsettling end. And that's all I'll say before we get into the spoilers. So if this sounds like something that you would enjoy, I definitely recommend you pick it up. Like I said, it's been out for a few years now, but it's very topical, I feel. And we'll get into why, but I feel like it's very topical. And if you love a story that's layered and full of so many characters that you're going to care for with your whole heart, definitely pick it up. I was going to say, but you know, get ready, make sure you're ready. And I would also, as well, before you leave, just let me recommend On the Savage Side and Betty. I love them both so much. And I mean, On the Savage Side, that's just the one that's gonna stick with me forever. Maybe because it's the one I read first. I don't know. I don't think so. I think there's just something so, that one just spoke to me in an incredibly, I still don't know how to talk about these books, in an incredibly deep way. Betty did as well, but there was something about On the Savage Side that just got me a little deeper. But all of her books have incredible characters that you will love so much, and that's why it hurts. Anyway, if you don't want any spoilers, now's the time to get on out of here. I don't want to ruin anything for anybody. And I'll see you in the next one. Okay, now that they're gone, we can get into it a bit. I'm not going to go into everything that happens in this book because, again, we would be sitting here for the entirety of tonight, and we don't want to be doing that. But we're going to get kind of into the themes a bit, into the central theme. To me, this book touches on so many things. It touches on the AIDS crisis. It touches on, and for me, the main thing, mob mentality, and the way that we can be so easily brainwashed. And that's the thing, you know, when you look back on terrible things throughout history and you wonder, how did people let that happen? You know, I guess it comes down to brainwashing and that mob mentality and how people get swept up into it. And there comes a point in this novel towards the end where the little boy who has come to town and proclaimed himself the devil, this little boy named Sal, who of course isn't the devil. He's a runaway who saw an ad in a paper and came to this town. There comes a point in the novel when these people, these townspeople who hate him so much, because first of all, he's black. And second of all, they think he's the devil. And there are, you know, like I said earlier, accidents that happen. The way these people turn on him, the way this one man, this terrible man, who, like, it's a whole thing that we won't get into because I don't have the stomach to talk about it. But this terrible man, he turns this entire town on this little boy. And they're all swept up into it. And whether it's the heat, whether it's this, whether it's that, they're just susceptible. And, you know, it makes you think of religious zealots, those groups that are so hateful, or, you know, just any kind of radical group that puts so much hate out into the world. And that's what this little boy comes to face in the end. And if you're here for spoilers. In the very end, he gets killed by this group of people. They go on to pay the price, but there's something about autopsy that makes him, as an attorney, instead of being part of the prosecution, he's part of the defense. And he argues for them in a sort of like temporary insanity sort of way. And this is after the family has already gone through an absolutely indescribable loss. And that's where the AIDS crisis comes into this. Fielding's older brother, Grant, is a gay man. And, you know, he's 18 years old and he's experimenting and trying to find himself. And in doing that, he gets ostracized from his sports teams. Because in this town, he's like a god. He's gorgeous. All the girls, you know, he can have his pick of girls. He's the star of the baseball team. And, but it turns out that's not what he's interested in. He's gay. And a man comes to town from New York, a journalist, and he's there to get information on this young boy who's come to town and is proclaiming to be the devil. And he's also gay. And Grand is absolutely taken with him because it's the first gay person he's ever met in real life. And in getting swept up in that, he gets intimate with the man. And then later, the man goes back to New York. Grant never hears from him again, much to his, you know, sadness, and he keeps trying to contact him. No response. Until one day, Grant, who has been obsessively reading the New York Times, which is the paper he works for, reads an article written by this man in which he lies. He talks about how, I won't get into what it talks about because that might get me demonetized, but in this article he talks about other things, but also how he has AIDS. And Grant, when reading this paper, realizes that he now probably also has it, and he's mortified, and he's literally shook to his core, and soon after takes his own life, because to him that seems like the better option than having to deal with this and tell his parents and let them down. And you know, they wouldn't have. They loved him so much. They would have loved him through that. But in his mind, after especially an altercation with his brother, he feels like that's not an option for him. So they've gone through this indescribable loss. Now the whole town has lost their ever-loving minds, and they're going after this child. And they get him. They get him. So the father's on the defense team, and Fielding is so upset by this, as you would be. And the father's not on the defense team because he didn't care about Sal. Like, by the time we get to this point, Fielding's mother and father look at Sal as a child of their own. They love him. But there are things from his past, and then we watch Autopsy lose his faith, just like his mother did. We watch him lose it after everything that has happened. And it is heartbreaking. In between all this, we're getting glimpses at Fielding's life now. Not now, in the future. When he's like an 80-year-old man, because the book takes place in 1984 when he would have been 13, but now he's like 80 years old. So like we're in the 2050s during these glimpses, and he is struggling. He has never ever been able to move on, because what happens in the final moments is of the past story is, while they are tormenting and eventually killing Sal, is Fielding goes into his house and gets a hidden gun, and he kills the man who was in charge, like the leader of this cult, I guess you'd call it. And that haunts him. That haunts him. Everything haunts him. The loss of his brother haunts him. Of course, now that he's 80 years old, his parents have passed on. That haunts him. Everything about Sal haunts him. Everything that happened that summer haunts him. And you just see that some things you can't move past, some things you can't get over, no matter how many decades passed. Some things you just can't move past. Even though when you're reading the book, I was like, kill him. Kill him. You know, it's justified. It's justice. Even though you'd do anything to get Sal back. And you just love Sal so much. Sal has such a beautiful spirit, and like the way he speaks to people, the way he helps people, the way he is, like, like I can't talk about it. It's such an incredibly moving story, and it's what I'll be thinking about for a long time to come. And now that I've read, I believe, yeah, this is her debut novel, I think. I can't wait for what comes next. Even though my heart's a little wary, but I can't wait to see what Tiffany McDaniel puts out next. She's a top 3 author for me of all time at this point, and she's just so incredibly talented. The way her novels are poetry mixed with prose, the way she words things, the way she says things, and like I look at her photos. I've spoken with her in emails, which was so lovely, and like she's very young, and some of the things, I mean, I don't want to say very young, but like I feel like I'm 42, she's probably a little younger than me. But the way, the things she says, the way she words things, the insight she has, she's definitely an old soul. She's definitely an old soul. And I just love her so much. And yeah, I can't wait to see what comes next for Tiffany, and I will be first in line to read it. I promise you that. Anyway, you guys, that's where I'm going to end it for tonight. There are so many other things in this book that we just don't have the time to get into. But so good. 5 stars, 10 stars, 20 stars, 2 thumbs up, all the thumbs ups. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I think the next video will probably be a spoiler-free book review coming up in a few days. Anyway, I hope you're having a great day. Bye, guys.